So I'm sure you guys are aware of, I think Ben was on there, and maybe you guys were on there too. About 6 months ago, Data and Society came out with this alternative influencer report. And quite literally, all they did was take a bunch of names of people who had talked to each other. So Rubin's talked to Knowles talked to Shapiro talked to Clayton. And then they pretended that this was actual data that proved that anyone was being radicalized anywhere. Now, this happened about 6 months ago. And people thought, okay, something's not right here. And there were plenty of errors in it. And actually, Tim Pool, who's one of the few journalists that actually we have these days, he actually did some background check on this where they actually proved that we were de-radicalizing people, actually. We were actually getting people out of the alt-right, which is sort of what the New York Times thing said. But most interestingly, they do that about 6 months ago. And then slowly, Vox gets into the fight with Crowder. And then you're telling me it's a coincidence that this guy, Kevin Roose, the author from the Ruse, is that what he's actually doing, but Kevin Roose from the New York Times, you're telling me for months he's been working on this thing, and you're not going to believe it, guys. It drops at the exact same time that Crowder's about to be kicked off YouTube. What are the chances?
Are you suggesting collusion?
Something stronger than collusion.
So there is, this actually is, so I talked on my show and I wrote a column about it this week. There's a two-pronged strategy here, and they're reinforcing. One is that the Democrats decided after 2016 they were never going to allow a Republican to win the presidency. And what that meant is they had to crack down on the social media companies they blamed for Hillary having lost. So this is why you saw Nancy Pelosi openly say, and it's just a lie, that Facebook was willingly participating in Russia propaganda in 2016. It's just a lie. There's no evidence for it at all. She said that specifically because she is trying to intimidate, just as Dianne Feinstein is trying to intimidate, just as everybody on the left is trying to intimidate these big tech companies into doing their bidding so as to avoid their scrutiny. The idea is if you do what we want, then we'll leave you alone to do your and they know that they are appealing to people who are like-minded. I mean, Zuckerberg at Facebook and Dorsey at Twitter and what's her name? Watch Kiki over at YouTube. All these people are on the left. They all gave money to Democrats. And so they have Democrats who are their friends ripping on them and saying, you need to crack down on this stuff because otherwise you're leading to radicalization. It's not, they can't say you're leading people to engage with Republican content because then it's obvious what the game is. So you're leading to radicalization and incitement and violence. And they'll say, oh, well, in the name of goodness, we have to stop this. So that's game number one being played by the Democrats. And then there's the second game. And this is the one that I find truly shocking.
Before you get to the second game, I want to push back just a second. Obviously, Zuckerberg and these guys are on the left in their personal thinking. But I don't think that it's as simple as the personal politics of the founders of the company.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
I think Mark Zuckerberg, I am certain that his view of himself is that he created an instrument that gives a voice to everyone. Like I think that's how he sees himself. And if he wasn't if they hadn't let themselves get into the censoring business, it would be true.
Yeah, that's right.
But I agree with the political pressure. The left has basically blamed them for the election of Donald Trump. And the tacit threat is, we're about to take power again, and we will break you up, we will regulate you. You have mainstream Democrats out on the campaign trail.
Openly saying this
stuff.
So I agree with all that. And I think that that's a good correction. I don't think that it's like Pelosi calls up Zuckerberg. She won't even get on the phone with Zuckerberg.
That's right.
Right? I think what it really is we're just going to threaten you. And Zuckerberg is like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do here, guys?
That's right.
And so there's some of that. And then there's also the fact that he is a person of the left. And he understands, he has said openly that Silicon Valley is a leftist place. And that means there's this echo chamber in terms of, okay, well, if you say Rubin or Shapiro are all right, that's all I've heard. I haven't really engaged with it too much. I guess maybe that's true. So that's part of it. Then there's the second aspect. And this is the part I find incredibly disturbing and actually quite evil. And that is the mainstream media that are proclaiming day in and day out that Donald Trump is an existential threat to the press. You have people like Jim Acosta who are doing books about how Donald Trump is calling them enemy of the people, and therefore he's trying to shut down freedom of the press. These people are all in on trying to get big tech to censor people. Vox is a supposed journalistic outlet. It is a pseudo-journalistic trash heap. They had their editor-in-chief put out a letter explicitly saying, we know that Steven Crowder didn't violate any of your rules. That's why we are telling you, as an editorial newspaper, we are telling you that you should change your rules. It shouldn't be as free speech. You need to change your rules, and you need to be able to kick people like Crowder off your platform. They were openly calling for Crowder's deplatforming.
They literally lobbied Vox, Carlos Maza from Vox, a journalist at Vox, literally lobbied Pete Buttigieg to not do my show.
Right, exactly.